Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Audrey Ruinis-Tobin, Director of Marketing at Co-Strategics, and welcome to today's webinar, How Low-Code and No-Code Can Help Agile Teams Improve Business. We want to make this webinar conversational, so if you have any questions, please add them to the Q&A, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. And we also will have Q&A at the end of the webinar too, so if you prefer that, just ask your questions at the end or in the middle, whenever is convenient. Also, we are recording today's webinar, and yes, we will send you a link when it's posted. And now I'm really excited to introduce you to our speakers, John and Zach. John Kitson is the Director of Product Management here at Co-Strategics. John helps customers find value in their data and actualize digital transformation. John is the proud father of a 3-year-old daughter, and he loves Imagineering and cooking. Zach Mogg is a digital product analyst at Co-Strategics. Zach currently leads agile projects across many verticals, including healthcare and logistics. He has infant twins. He's an avid sports fan, and he coaches high school basketball. And so now I'm going to turn it over to John and Zach to get started with our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction and orchestration, Audrey. Today, we are planning on walking through a brief history of what is meant by these low-code, no-code solutions and talk through where the various approaches are in the market today. As we lay that groundwork, just to make sure we're all on the same page, we'll then move forward and talk through some of our own personal experiences of how we've seen clients successfully introduce low-code solutions and what to be looking for and thinking about within your organization. You know, if you're having issues with limited IT resources, uncontrolled paper or spreadsheets, or just in general, being asked, the common ask, do more with less. So hopefully we'll hit on some of these things that spark some ideas and, get you those next steps.
Great. Thanks, John. So I'll kick it off here. Before we jump into the main details of the webinar, we wanted to start off with an example of how low-code, no-code tools can be used. So we'll start off with an internal example here at Co-Strategics. You can call us nerds, but because that's what we are. However, we moved into our new office last year and got a new ping pong table in our game room. So as you can imagine, we're a competitive bunch, and that ping pong table gets extensive use, as you can see here in John in full competition mode. But don't let that fool you. I'm still beating him in the standings. So we have a little battle back and forth. But we wanted to find a way to track our scores. We play each other, most days, a little break in the day. We wanted to find a way to track our scores. So we built a ping pong score tracking app here using the Microsoft Power Platform low-code solution. We also, with that Power Platform, built an interface within Power BI. As you can see, that dashboard behind John showing the scores and who is on that specific leaderboard. So you'll see here a couple of screens we built to track the information, track who you played, and track scores. A quick way to track that information. So quick little introduction into what we use internally today. So we'll share more, promise to share more case studies and examples later, but wanted to really kind of take a step back and actually dive into the meat and potatoes of what low-code, no-code tools are. So what is low-code, no-code? As you can see here on the picture on the left, we like to use an analogy of it's like a pre-made meal. All of the ingredients are pre-made, the hard work is done for you, and all you really have to do is pop it in the microwave and then you eat the meal. Similarly, with a no-code, low-code solution, there's little to no programming development knowledge needed, where you can take all of the technology built in the background, build a button with one click, and you have an application built or a solution built for your enterprise. Another way to kind of think of the low-code, no-code solutions here on the right-hand side is a key fob. Back in the day, you would have a key where you would have to open your door manually. You would have to go on the other side, open your door, do a number of different things with the one key that you have, turn the actual key. Now today we have a key fob that you sit in your car and you press a button, and all the technology within that key fob is built in to build or to start your car, to open the trunk, to open your doors and roll down your windows and do all of the things that a car is supposed to do. Similarly to that pre-made meal, that's what it is with a no-code solution. All the technology is built there for you to allow us to get in our car, press a button, and back out of the driveway and start driving. So a little bit with low code, no code is a little bit of a misnomer, because obviously there's low code, no code for the users, but there is a lot of code and a lot of technology that is built in the background. But really what it is an essentially user-friendly software development environment. So we'll go to the next slide here. So now we've kind of set the stage of what low code, no code solutions are. We wanted to give a little bit of a history of where we have come over the last 35 to 40 years here. So as you can see at the beginning, started off with Microsoft Excel. Yes, Excel is a low code, no code platform. Allows users to perform simple actions on the face of the application with easy buttons and calculations that are all the technologies built in the background to allow you to do VLOOKUPs and macros and FX calculations. Continuing out through that history, you'll see many solutions you might not have thought of as a low code, no code. For example, WordPress in 2003, or Shopify in 2006, or Apple when they launched their first iPhone, which allowed users to get into the mobile app development and a breakthrough in simplifying those applications for the users. And then as you see here, we'll go through the timeline. In 2018, Microsoft introduced the Power Platform, which packaged together some of the things we've already been doing for years in a format, making it easier for those citizen developers. But more on that in a little bit. In 2020, Google rebranded and acquired AppSheet, formerly known as AppMaker, to get more in the competitive space with Microsoft, and so on. So you'll see here at the end in 2024, the no code market is expected to be a $52 billion market cap from that perspective. So wanted to give a little bit of background and history of what low code, no code is, and show you that timeline as well. So a couple of the benefits of low code, no code is really simple. It's pretty easy to see how it is becoming so popular. In business, time is money. If you can build an app in a day versus 3 months or more, that's a no-brainer. You're saving time and saving money. Likewise, if a single person can do what it usually takes for an entire development team to do, you can reduce the cost that you're doing in business, and bingo, you're in the money. So really, that is one of the main benefits of the low code, no code tools, is finding a way to save time, finding a way to save money, and doing it at an easier and quicker pace than normal enterprise development applications. So now I'll turn this one over to John to talk about some of the considerations. Actually, we'll talk a little bit about some of the marketplace tools we have available.
Yes, I guess this is really interesting points that you brought up. I think for me, coming from a business background, I always think of the biggest value of low code being de-risking, IT projects. Every time you have a much larger scale implementation, you have a lot of time that introduces risks. You have a lot of change management, introduces risks, and you haven't really focused on the what. You're focusing so much on the how that you forget kind of what the what is. And those business requirements and really what you're trying to do is deliver value, kind of sometimes can get lost in that mix. So when we look at these low code, no code solutions, use a number of them throughout many years in business, but at a high level, I want to kind of first put them in kind of two buckets. One is the very purpose-built kind of solutions. And then the other side that Zach's going to kind of talk through a little bit more in depth a little bit later are those enterprise solutions that kind of take those purpose-built pieces, but then kind of bring them together, to build some synergies, something that Microsoft is typically very good at. So to start off, kind of calling out three in particular that we've used or our clients have used that kind of walk through various stages of their organization. So a company may start and say, I need to be able to get my presence out onto the internet. I need to showcase there. I need to be able to have something that people can find my hours of operation or things that I offer and all that kind of stuff. And Wix became a very good opportunity for people who have no tech background, being able to utilize pre-built templates. They're not necessarily the greatest websites in the world, but they get the job done, and they allow you to kind of move from nothing to a stable state very, very quickly. The next step might be, now that I've got people coming to my website, I need to be able to allow them to shop. And Shopify added e-commerce into that equation, those kinds of things. Now, as I continue to grow, we had a lot of repetitive steps that I'm incurring. And right now I have somebody in the back, manually doing those things, but at some point at scale, it becomes unnecessary for me to do that. And UiPath became an RPA tool, robotic process automation, that allowed us to do that. In particular, we had one client that we helped implement UiPath. They took something that was taking somebody 2 hours every single day to manually do, prone to error, and be able to quantify that into scheduled tasks with certain cases and things like that to actually walk through, allow them to do more high value work. Exactly.
Yeah. So now that John's kind of talked about the purpose-built solutions, I wanted to transition to the right side of the slide in the enterprise solutions. So the real question or the problem that you may have is you require both background routing, like a UiPath or Shopify, and then also building a website, and then also connecting dashboards and analytics and being able to see data out of the things that you built. This is where enterprise platforms have become prominent in the low-code, no-code space. So you'll see here two examples. Microsoft Power Platform and Google App Maker are both two big players in that enterprise solution market. They offer a multitude of different program options to allow you to build a full-fledged application from scratch that takes some of the pieces of Wix and Shopify and UiPath and cohesively puts them all together to build a full-fledged solution for your business. We'll dive into both of these solutions here in the next few slides. So I'll talk about a little bit about Google App Maker, or they also have rebranded to AppSheet since acquiring them, as that historical slide I shared earlier. So what they can do and what they provide is really three different areas. The ability to build an application from specific templates that they have, or building an application from scratch. Being able to automate workflows, send emails, send SMS, send push notifications, and then integrate technology. So connect with outside data sources. So as you'll see here, Dropbox, or even in the internal data sources to Google's area with Gmail and Google Contacts, and connecting all those things together within the applications. So this is just one example of Google App Maker or AppSheet. And then I'll actually dive into the Microsoft Power Platform a little bit further as well. So we are at Co-Strategics a Microsoft partner. So we use a lot of these tools. That Ping Pong app I talked about earlier was built off of the Microsoft Power Platform. So we'll dive into some of the things we've done from a case study perspective here on Power Platform. So a lot of people know about Power BI. And that's just one of the options that Microsoft Power Platform offers. They have out-of-the-box tools that then equip citizen developers to build fully functioning applications. So as you'll see here, some of the icons, Power Apps lets you turn ideas and organizational solutions by enabling users to build custom apps to solve business challenges. Power Automate, which was normally originally named Power Flow, is now rebranded as Power Automate. Boosts productivity and lets you get more done by automating your organizational processes. Power Virtual Agents lets you easily build chatbots to engage conversationally with your customers and employees with limited to no coding required. Power Pages is a tool that lets you quickly build low-code business websites for delivering vital information to your services and customers. These are normally your external-facing websites. And then you'll see at the bottom the three things here that connect back into the solutions that are provided. One of those being the Dataverse. This lets you create and run thousands of applications, flows, and intelligent agents with smart and secure, scalable low-code data platform. By the way, Microsoft has enough confidence in their Dataverse to build Dynamics 365 on top of the Dataverse. The data connectors, Microsoft has over 900 plus connectors that allow users to connect to outside data sources and pull in their applications, pull those into Power BI reports, and a number of things as well. So this is just a high level of the Power Platform suite. We'll go into some case studies here in a little bit on some of the things we've used with it. But before diving into that, I wanted to share a really cool feature just to kind of show how easy it is to take an idea you're working on with a team and turn it into an application. So what they have here is a feature within the Power Platform, within Power Apps, that lets you take a picture of what you've drawn on a whiteboard and import it into the Power Apps Power Platform to start building an app. So you'll see here on the left-hand side is a drawing of a reservation form with fields and drop downs. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see that digitized form by uploading that picture that you took of the whiteboard. So it's a really cool feature that takes, sometimes when you have conversations with business analysts and UI and UX designers and project managers and getting different things from that perspective and turning it in, that may take a few weeks. This, you draw it on a board after a meeting, and then all of a sudden now you have something tangible to start working and QAing and testing and doing some trial and error. Also, if you're using Figma, you can draw a complete UX file, take that UX file and import it into Power Apps, and then let the AI take the file and build an app based on that. So that's another opportunity or option that they have here in preview mode. Wanted to kind of highlight that because myself and John went to a annual conference for the first annual Power Platform conference. They showed this feature, and a really cool feature to be able to get into this space and start building some applications. So that being said, I'll turn this one back over to John to show a case study on how we've used some of this internally as well.
Yeah, it's a really exciting point, like an inflection point for low-code, no-code solutions. There's a lot of capability and a lot of integration, which really takes all of the power that they could have used in the past and really amps it up a lot. In one of those cases, as we came back from that conference, was trying to build our own application that utilize some of these best strengths. So we took the wireframe to form feature that Zach had just mentioned and tried to build something of our own. We had a need. Co-Strategics builds many digital applications and product platforms for our clients. Some of them are spanning year-long development cycles and multiple releases with DevOps processes and all these kinds of things. And really wanted to find a way to kind of simplify the way we track and manage usability testing feedback from our clients. So we took the concept, we needed to build a change request routing app, and we built it on Microsoft's Power Platform to start. So we took Power Pages front-end website to be able to allow us to manage the security as well as usability for registration and form building and things like that for our internal and external users. And then we looked at one of those 900 plus connectors, and we're able to build pre-built connections into our actual development software tracking system, Jira, so that flowed, bilaterally, so we could make our development teams stay efficient. We're able to manage that data model from a security perspective, within the Dataverse. And then also utilize Power Automate to help orchestrate some of our actual business roles. How do we route and who gets notified appropriately, all utilizing pre-existing information and roles and security that we were already using within Azure Active Directory. So it's a little bit of a lot. So that's kind of where we're showcasing some of those pieces. Not knowing where everybody is on this, we wanted to kind of first talk through just, how do you get the best at each of these stages? There are going to be some, people on this call who are all the way through looking at how to really drive data democratization or citizen development, some keywords and things like that are kind of more on the forefront of where some people are. And there's going to be some people on this call who are really just at the table stakes side. They're using Excel, they're using forms, and they really need help kind of taking that first step. They can see the issues that exist there and want to be able to try to help automate more and do more with less. So you might be wondering how to get started. For me, coming from the business side of things and really focusing on how low code really works best, it's really best to really start from a pain point. I often come to this little high level diagram to kind of try to understand where an organization is or a particular area of an organization as far as regards to where they are from a maturity standpoint. Even the most progressive tech companies, have processes today that just lag behind where they think they are overall. There's no problem existing within any area of this diagram, but it is important to kind of understand where you are so that you better understand what are the next logical steps on this progression. And even if your problem, requires or would be best suited for a low code solution. So this is a typical journey of how an organization matures some areas utilizing low code and no code solutions, but it's not the only journey. So starting on the left, one of the first cases I like to do is just try to understand how do we get away from, Word or Excel. I often think that's the hardest step. We all have that process or two that makes us feel a little crazy when we try to describe it to somebody else. It might sound something like, depending on the position of the moon or the sky on a Tuesday, we either do X or Y, and then everything else becomes an exception. Typically this happens because you've been managing things through Excel, where everything can be an exception. But by forcing yourself to put a basic structural guard, those guardrails that are required for a system agnostic, no code solution, you actually build a better process. It becomes about what you do and not what the software does. And in some cases, this will allow your organization to feel more comfortable in the future, transitioning to a more traditional, off-the-shelf or robust solution. But even if you'll eventually go to an off-the-shelf solution, using a low-code solution to deliver value more quickly and flesh out some of those change management concerns is an extremely, extremely valuable step forward. And the next step, describes, how we see a small application, get built quickly. So that's where you get into where you've now built your first low-code solution, but it's really more around a functional need. Think back to when we talked about Wix or UiPath. It's really only impacting your business unit or for a single use kind of piece. Step 3 kind of takes that next step and starts building connections. So you have your application, you have your piece, but now you're modernizing processes, the steps between two applications, and making sure that they flow automatically. And towards the end, we get ready for actual citizen development and managing our own governance and those kinds of things. And that's really where we've elevated the whole team to be a little bit more business driven and not so IT driven. So that analysts, BAs, product managers, project managers, and the like, your business and data analysts are really trained to be able to develop things that they need, and they have the tools ready for them to be able to do so.
Great, John. Thanks. So let's look at a real life low code journey from one of our clients. Our client is in the transportation space. We've done a lot of work helping them engineer their data platform, build dashboards and reports, and drive data and analytics insights across the entire enterprise. So we're currently working with them to elevate their maturity in the Power Platform. So as you can see here, as the first step, they started building out dashboards and reports and using in Power BI. As their team started to get more comfortable using the reports, they started dipping their toe into low code by building their own self-service dashboards off the data that's been provided and iterating more quickly to get insights to drive their business. So that's really the first step, kind of reiterating what John was talking about on the last slide, but with a real life example. The real inflection point came from when they wanted to modernize a DOS-based ticketed system that was certainly important to their business, but not as a key priority. Off-the-shelf options did not really exist. They quoted out and talked to a number of different options and came back with quotes for hundreds of thousands of dollars with a year time frame just to build the front end application. So they started looking around at other alternatives, and that's where they started to explore a Power Platform. So we helped them think through some of the existing assets they can use, including SharePoint with Dataverse as the underlying database and existing Azure Active Directory. So they're currently in the process of building this application within the Power Platform, and will actually be spun up with only a month's worth of development time. So trimming it down from hundreds of thousands of dollars project and a 1-year timeline to now a small limited team and resources to a 1-month development timeline to get the app spun up and going. The next project, and something they're looking to do outside of what they've done with this application, is to be able to find a way to quickly find documents and SOPs that are located in their internal SharePoint. So they're looking to build a document search bot using Power Virtual Agents to interact and have an interactive search so they can find documents, SOPs using NLP or natural language processing. And really, this is just the beginning, right? So they started working on the ticketing application, the Power Virtual Agents, and now looking to expand on a number of different things that will help with their business processes and try to improve those business processes. So now we've explored what we can do with these applications in the Power Platform space. They got to the point where they're developing multiple applications and started thinking about how to best govern and how to best implement those. So kind of went on that maturity ladder here with this client, starting from reports and data into actually building and implementing applications, and then really how that process was implemented, how it's managed, and how they can take this into the future. So I'll talk a little bit about some best practices for implementing the Power Platform within this business that we use for this client, as well as for any interest in deploying a low-code, no-code solution within your enterprise. So really the first step is ensuring leadership buy-in. Leaders need to demonstrate the use of their tools, have buy-in that the low-code solution that you're selecting is the right one for your business. And so having that leadership buy-in is really key. Then creating a cross-functional team to oversee governance, roles, and responsibilities. So making sure that when that low-code solution is chosen and what you're going to be using it for, that there is a team that can govern and put roles to who the developers are, whether that's the BA, whether that's the project manager, the UI, UX, somebody in marketing, a number of different areas across your function, identifying that cross-functional team. Then really choosing that enterprise solution of choice. So whether it's Power Platform, whether you're a Google shop and want to use Google AppSheet, or any of the number of tools out there, making sure you're identifying that after you've built the team and the leadership has that buy-in. One thing to consider when choosing the enterprise solution is making sure that they have some type of security measures. So role-based access, administrative permission. So if you're implementing a tool and someone's building an application in accounting or something like that, want to make sure that you have role-based access so people aren't seeing different data points that they're not supposed to see across the application, and making sure things are published and still following that agile process and that IT process to get the information out. So that's definitely something to consider when choosing that solution. Building a team trained in the low-code tools, allotting time for employee learning and growth. So going back to the example of Power Platform, they have certifications that employees can go through to become certified to be a Power Platform developer, understanding all of the tools and all of the functions and everything that can be available within the Power Platform. Whatever is chosen, whatever you plan to use, make sure that you have a team that's trained in that to be able to help with questions. So when an application is deployed and there may be issues or things like that, just like any other enterprise application, having a team that is trained and knowledgeable to be able to support those as you continue through that journey. Testing the apps with a small group before deploying broadly. So when you have an application that's being built or that citizen developer is building, making sure that the application is tested and performance is measured on the applications, especially within all of the other tools that you use on a daily basis. So testing that before it does go out to production, or if you're using a Google form, for an example, making sure that when that's sent out, specific information is not able to be seen or able to be seen by the teams that are using the application. From there, making sure that you communicate broadly to promote the adoption of the available tools. So garner some excitement around the tools that are chosen, the applications that are being built, the people that are involved in the actual project or product that is being chosen and built, getting the entire team really excited about what is to come and the opportunities that are to come from what can be built with those low-code, no-code solutions. And then the last thing here is tracking data on measures of success, such as usability, reports created to manage performance, cost, and efficiency. So going back to the Power Platform example, they have a great tool that allows you to see how many users you have within the tool, how many reports are being built, how many applications are being built, how many flows are being used across these applications, and taking that data, presenting it out, again, garnering that excitement within the organization of the tool that is being used, and moving that along within your organization. So these are just some best practices. These are not all of the best practices that you should follow. There are other ones we haven't listed here, but wanted to kind of give you some of those ideas on what we've seen as success with some of our clients and some of the things we've done also internally with the tools we built as well. So John, I'll kick this one back over to you.
Yeah, I just want to kind of reiterate some of these things. So depending upon where you are in that journey, some of those items that Zach alluded to, and I'm about to kind of talk through, are a little bit more important or less important. So if you're going with a little bit more of a purpose-built solution, you may not have to ensure leadership buy-in and certain of those things. But as you continue to mature through those areas, or you're thinking about this more as an enterprise level way of doing business, you really kind of need to align around 3 key areas. Zach, next slide.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was on the next slide.
So first one is through visibility and management across the organization. So identifying really kind of through this lens, we're trying to look at decisions that need to be made around what teams or business units we really need to be a part of this platform. So this is our first step in our first venture, identifying how do we really want to deliver that value? What is that logical starting point? Is it really one department that's got high visibility to others? Is it a cross-functional process orientation of the team? There really isn't a wrong answer or a wrong way to frame this other than trying to take on too much at once. The big value that we talked about is time and money and speed to value on this. That's the real area that low code really excels. So overburdening the process with too many people and too many problems to try to solve really kind of detracts from the value add of approaching the solution this way. You don't need to solve all of the problems, but proving the capability and delivering swift value gives you and the organization confidence to continue to grow and expand and also learn. If it's your first time doing it, it's never going to be perfect. So think through this visibility, not just of data ingestion, but also of use of analysis and other downstream processes to really make sure that you're engaging the right people to make sure that the right solutions are being introduced. The second point I also like to encourage clients to think about is how they plan to train and develop, as Zach talked about, on those platforms. You can use low code as a meal kit, as we talked about earlier, but you still need to know how to saute something. There's never a situation where somebody can come in completely blank and know how to do everything. As you continue to mature down that scale, that solution comes from a tactical solution to a strategic solution. You may need to start getting more modifications to those recipes that you're given to really get to where you want to get to. Microsoft, for its part, really appears to be investing heavily right now on that platform. Zach already told us, but we and some of our client citizen developers, attended a conference this past year and really got to understand more of the feedback and the roadmap of features and integrations to come. And that really hands-on experience was helpful for us to sharpen that saw. If you're looking to make a low-code investment, the more strategic it gets, the more you'll want to look into available talent on the market, training, consultants that exist in your markets as well to help you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment. Lastly, on the slide, I want to talk through, we're a data first company. We live it, we breathe it. If you're not implementing low code solutions with data security and accuracy in mind, you're just exposing yourself to all kinds of issues. That's not a problem with low code though. And I want to kind of separate that out. That's really a problem of ease of use. We don't blame Excel for the fact that somebody can pass along, personally identifiable information where it shouldn't have gone. It's a lack of business process and lack of controls that allows that to occur. But when done right, with the right oversight, you can manage, for example, a centralized repository of data that's shared across your citizen apps, all built with proper security roles, utilizing existing or new Active Directory, Azure roles, for example. You can keep good governance with the democratization of data. So yeah, data governance, data democratization, it might sound a little bit like a oxymoron. Isn't low code supposed to make things more simple? Why are we talking about governance? It probably maybe sounds that way a little bit as we talk through this. If you haven't fully matured down this path, or you've been a part of a company that's attempted to do some kind of data governance, while skipping some of these steps or taking on more than you could chew, or had to contend with just citizens who don't have access to things running solo without regards to the impacts of, outside of their bubble. But yeah, if it's facilitated in a well-balanced way, the steps through that ladder appropriately, you can empower your business data stewards and give them achievable steps to delivering value. And you get back great ideas, a ton of ownership into the solution. Now, when we start with a client, we tend to try to avoid some of these IT scary words, governance And master data MDM can sometimes put the fear of millions of dollars, almost as many hours, and little success from past failures. But it should still be a goal that we approach and take our organizations through those multiple evolutions and stepped progress rather than a full sweeping revolution. Only you know the reality of your organization and its culture. But I like to approach it using, I call it a Kit Kat bar. The old Kit Kat message, break me off a piece, those kind of things. So the key two messages there are really break it down. You eventually consume the whole of the Kit Kat bar, but unless you're a monster or toddler, you break it off piece by piece. You should think about these projects in the same way. They're digestible. Focus on one central bite-sized problem to solve. Introduce an advisory committee across functions of your key data stewards. Lift up that group of engaged individuals and allow them to quickly align and implement changes and see the benefit. You can put them in a position to succeed. And the sizes of those iterations should be big enough to drive value to those who are involved, but at the end of the day, small enough to consume. You need to make sure you circle around the value of those individuals. We work really hard to understand the pain points of our clients and work to drive value that calls back to those pain points and the solutioning of those things. At the end of the day, these are all solutions to people and business problems, and always keeping the me focus really allows us to keep the teams engaged and is vital to the success of any of these programs. So to kind of conclude, we talked about a lot of things on the very first steps of the path to the very end steps of this path. You might be asking yourself, great, where do I get started? We talked about all this stuff, and it may not sound that easy, but don't worry. If you're just starting your journey and you're wanting to explore more about how and when to use low code as a tool in your overall suite of solutions, you aren't starting at that end of the spectrum. You just need to start by aligning to the problem. Low code solutions are a great opportunity to take some things that have been commoditized to some extent, web pages, web forms, data visualizations, and straightforward data routing and business rules that have that prepackaged recipe to lower the barrier of entry for you and your team. Understand your environment. Are you already using existing low code platforms? How wide is the impact of that needed solution? And how engaged are your business and technical teams to finding that current analysis? From there, should be able to determine if a low code solution is right for you, either for a longer term solution or even just to quickly get you off of paper quickly and get out those kinks that you often see during change management. Then, last step, deliver quickly and iterate. Strike while the iron is hot. Seeing is believing, and organizing around quick learning, iterations, and value is the biggest value of low code. So get out of that gate when you can. If you're looking for any help or guidance on getting started in this journey or along any step of that journey, we'd love to hear from you. Co-Strategics is a strategic technology consulting and implementation company that bridges that gap between technology and business teams to build value with digital and data solutions. If you're looking for guidance on how to mature your software engineering capabilities, we can help you leverage best practices from user experience design through DevOps and DataOps. This slide showcases a selection of some of our services. As you can see, we work along the full technology engineering spectrum. We can help you with both platform and product engineering, as well as low-code application development. Everything we do starts with strategy. So we can help you build out your low-code center of excellence strategy and then train your business and IT teams on best practices. The real benefit, I think, of working with Co-Strategic is the partnership that we bring to co-innovation. We will help you figure out the approach that makes most sense for your team and provides the best business value and outcome for your company. We can help you determine and decide when you need to spend the resources to build a full-blown product or platform versus building an app using low-code and no-code solutions. Ultimately, we work with your team to deliver speed and value to your business and IT engineering projects.
So just wanted to, as we finish here, just wanted to see if anybody had any questions, Audrey, from the chat.
Actually, we got just a couple of questions here. The first one is, would you recommend low code or no code for an internal app that would replace a process for onboarding new employees?
I mean, the short answer to that is maybe. You know, as we kind of walk through this process, there's a few other things that we would need to kind of know before we would say yes for sure. We do have some clients that we have built that exact use case. I think we've seen, you know, examples of that and case studies of that on multiple Power Platform websites and things like that. So I definitely think it's an opportunity there. But you really have to ask is why you're approaching the question of that. Where are you currently? Are you using PDF forms? Are you using paper forms? How big of a problem is it? What are your alternatives and those kind of things? I think something like this, when I see a client that's using, you know, PDF forms to try to manage all these things, and it's an important process like onboarding new employees with all of their benefits and everything else that you need to do in that whole checklist. Being able to build that piece rather than have it managed through multiple key typings and multiple areas where somebody can introduce error, not intentionally, but just through accident and